This is Realize Radio, episode 8. We're jumping right in. Well, hello, Murph. Hey, bud.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm so good. How are you?
Rocking and rolling here.
You never get in here before Rambo does. Look at you.
Make
Making up for
gotta make for big mistakes. You know how.
making up for lost time from that time warp.
Yep.
See you. I see you. That's good. Oh, well, speaking of Rambo, here we go.
Rambo's here.
Rambo's here. Hey, Rambo.
Hello. How's it going?
Pretty good. Busy day. We're recording on a different day. It's got me all thrown for a loop. Different day, different time. Yeah, I forget how much of a routine person I am. When we didn't record yesterday, it's like, what do I do with my evenings? What do I do with my Friday night?
Yeah, it was different.
You find stuff. You find stuff to do. Fun stuff. But I'm kind of sad though, knowing this is our last little one of this run, y'all. I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic.
Yeah, eight down. So I wanted to talk about the George Floyd thing again. That it was the trial, and I was wrong. It was I thought it was going to be not guilty, and
Yeah.
and it's just that was a bit of a shocker. But I also feel like they haven't sentenced him, so are they going to give like a ridiculous sentence, like 3 months and 3 weeks or something? You know, where it's then causes, so they've had like the positive negative sandwich. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, O.J. Simpson was sentenced to 33 years after he stole that merchandise back from himself, or 33 months or something. Yeah, he was 33 in his sentence. To your point, Rainbow. Yeah, we did kick around the idea. I mean, pretty strongly that he was going to be found not guilty, and that was going to cause the wave of rioting that we had kind of predicted. I really thought that was going to happen, or I was predicting that was going to happen. But I'm actually not surprised, because he was guilty on all 3 counts, and the way that the language is, and the what he's guilty of, and how it was actually presented in the court. There's a loophole in there somewhere, and I know that they're going to pull at that loophole eventually, and he's going to be. I think he eventually at a retrial, or even if it gets to a retrial, but something is going to happen where they're going to pull the rug under this.
Of guilty of 3 charges. Yeah, I feel like it's not going to stick, is it?
And there's your 3. It wasn't
Yeah,
just
again.
1. Why'd they have to even charge him with 3 things? Why did there have to be even 3 on the table? I mean, there had to be.
What I don't understand with murder, don't you really have to go out with the intent to murder?
You do.
Like he turned up to a radio call. Let's say it was real. He turned up to a police call out, and we've seen the videos that he wasn't actually murdering him. So like, how's it murder?
Yeah, his knee wasn't even on his neck. Couldn't have caused the asphyxiation. I mean, just I feel that all of this is building up hope. We talk about Loosh being. I think it's both sides. I really do believe that.
Yeah, it's just going to build it up now for the 8 weeks. Nothing
feels worse than when your hope is dashed. When your hope is like your balloon is burst. There in that moment. Ugh.
And did you see that news article of the Chauvin guy saying, "Oh, the fact checkers said it was him in court"?
I mean, where do we even begin? USA Today.
Interesting what it actually said in the post. The language, the way it was worded, was very interesting. It said that no evidence exists to give reason to doubt that is the right person, which is interesting because the person that we're talking about doesn't exist. So of course you can't have any evidence, right? So if you want to read it strictly speaking, they're actually correct.
They always tell us the truth. The linguistic gymnastics is spectacular. It really is. It's so good, because they're telling us the truth by these purposeful miswordings. They always do. And something that I found with this particular trial, when it first happened, when Derek Chauvin was being described in the media, his neighbors were talking about him, and everyone said he was a quiet guy. We never saw him. He just kept to himself. We never saw him.
They didn't know that he was a police officer.
We didn't even. A police officer lives here? We didn't know that. You
You
know, I
usually,
find that very...
usually have your squad car in the driveway,
Yes, you certainly do.
right?
Or pulling in. People would notice a cop car pulling in every single day and leaving every single day. People would notice that in a neighborhood.
Same
But
minute.
what happened to the other guys, the other policemen? Like, weren't they all with him as well? Weren't they like at
They
one point getting
were...
arrested? I remember seeing a video of them.
The CGI folk did a breakdown on all their names. All their names are completely magical names. All of
All
them.
I can remember is the open your eyes guy, the Asian cop who's
Ah,
also kneeling down, and he is literally, and he's kneeled in front of a bus as the bus is passing by, and the bus behind him says "Open your eyes," and he's positioned right in the middle, like his eyes are. It's just...
When I think of all that now, I think it's all done in a studio. I think it was
Me
all in a
too.
studio.
There's no way they could wait for that bus to drive by so purposefully and happenstance. New media, y'all. New media. So, in conclusion, everything we're getting through the mainstream media is false, and it's time for us to start a new media revolution. We're part of it. We're part of a new... I mean, it's happening around us. It's being built around us. It's not happening... We're not the only ones. It's happening around us, and I think a rising tide will lift all boats. So I think we are in a cool position. I think we should just keep doing what we're doing.
I think that videos is definitely the next step. So a YouTube channel. And the thing is, we could like, for instance, you could like pick on a news story or like a mainstream news story, for instance, the Evergreen or something, and we could break down the news and contradict the news reporter and stuff like that. You know, I feel like that would be quite fun, and we could just make
like our own
loads
little
of them.
channel, like...
Yeah, we could make loads of them without really like saying, right, we're going to put it out on this day. We just make a bunch of them and then just put them out individually and even onto other platforms, you know.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people who actually do look at us. And I saw a post today who look at us saying that instead of going to like regular media, they go to our accounts.
I bookmarked that. It's very important, significant. We're new wave media. We're not mainstream. We're like a new slipstream. We made our own little tributary, and we're heading to the ocean, baby. You said it last time. Our thoughts have value. There is a marketplace for our thoughts. We're positioned in a strange place where, you know, we're not really at the forefront of this. I'm starting to realize how many other people were thinking these things. There's just something about this time. There's something about this time and this medium, the medium of Twitter, all of us kind of congregating on Twitter and then kind of spreading out through podcasts.
You know what the big difference is? I didn't like get into this stuff until like George Floyd, like and like May, June, and then July. I hit your account and boom, it's all over.
Sayonara.
I can't sleep anymore. Great.
Sorry, Merv. Well, you're making me see 33s everywhere. I don't think that's quite even, but you're losing sleep. I'm seeing 33s.
No, it's crazy, you know, but at any time of the day, if I'm on Twitter or whatever like that, anybody can sit there and ask me a question, and I'm there. I'm there with them. If they want to jam, I'm ready to jam with them. If they have something good to say. So in other words, like people always like to feel like the person that they look up to or the person they think is cool is somebody that they can actually reach out to and will talk to them. And so many assholes are out there who are like quote unquote famous or like influencers or whatever the fuck you want to call them, but they don't want to talk to people.
It just naturally, we just kind of naturally all came together in a way, and then the podcast naturally came afterwards. And
yeah, so that initial the availableness, because Murph, we were just sending questions back, like, you know, question answer, you know, and it was such a interesting immediate back and forth. Same with you, Rambo. Like I don't know. It was like we were just so desperate to share.
If you hadn't been that open to talking to new people, there wouldn't be this podcast today.
Yeah, I think so. Because that's with everybody. Anybody who reaches out, I dialogue with everybody. It gets a little overwhelming sometimes. It gets a lot overwhelming sometimes, but I genuinely enjoy it. And I think it's a very fruitful exercise. And I think it's good for my soul. And I always wanted people to understand me my whole life. I was like, why doesn't anybody ever understand me?
But here's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is that we're sitting on a situation where we can actually be compensated for what we enjoy doing and what you say is good for your soul, and it can be monetized in a way that like
But
I don't think
there are ways to, like, we've talked about getting on a Patreon and doing more like in personal stuff, more chatty, more chatty stuff. Just kind of continuation of this, but maybe a little bit more freestyle, and maybe bring on like some guests and have some real interaction. Like, we've explored that, and I think that could actually be really fun, especially when we take a break. I think that we'll have some more time and we'll be desperate to chat. So having that set up, for a Realize Radio experience is going to be really, I think that'll be a first step. But then also in the future, I think that if people like us, whatever we do, we could, I do want to write a book one day. And I think it would be really cool if people were like, that's Human Vibrations' book, I'm going to buy that book. I thought,
it's definitely possible.
If you wrote it today, it would be bought tomorrow. Let's put it that way. I mean, everything's in whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
You get a car. You get a car. You get a car. I'm the new Oprah, and everyone gets a car. Okay, Rambo, save me, please. Steer this ship back to the harbor.
Impossible. The ship's not even there. How can you?
Where is the ship? Yeah, where'd that ship go?
It's not even there.
Did you guys see that ship is going to be lost at sea for like a year? People are going to be stuck on that ship for a year. What was that article about? Like, it's out of the Suez Canal, but it's stuck in the ocean for a whole year. What do we do?
Yeah, why didn't we get any like interviews from like the captain or anything like that? We got nothing.
Because they're stuck on a ship for the whole year, Rambo. Well, we can't talk to them. They're on a ship in the ocean.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
How convenient is that? Like, okay, they're gonna want to talk to these crewmen. So what do we say? Just tell them that we're stuck on the ship. Perfect. We'll do that.
We'll see you in a year.
A whole year. It's probably gonna be 366 days, y'all. It will be.
We'll all be dead from the vaccine by then.
No.
That with the vaccine, did you see that vaccine news article of it was saline?
Oh, yes. Oh, I did a little thread on that. I started noticing. I mean, we have been talking about that since episode 1. We have been kicking around the idea that the vaccine is a therapeutic saline. It's just what they call physiological saline. There's nothing bad. There's no toxins in it. There's none of the, it's not a vaccine. And they say that all vaccines are mixed with saline. So they say that's kind of what vaccines are made of. If you look at vaccine ingredients, the major ingredient, what makes it a vaccine and deliverable is that it has saline in it, and it takes it from a concentrate, as they say, into this mixture. What I propose is that and potentially all vaccines, because I don't really believe in vaccine science or virology, maybe all vaccines have been this innocuous saline solution with no extra. I mean, none of this. They call it placenta or aborted babies, fetuses, mercury, all these heavy metals and toxins, and formaldehyde. What else do they say are in vaccines? All sorts of random stuff,
And it creates that division. The division anti-vax and pro-vax has always been there, hasn't it, as well?
And so now all these news articles out of nowhere, after we've been saying like, hey, maybe vaccines aren't bad. Maybe they're actually not bad at all. Maybe they're totally harmless and there's nothing in there. After we say that multiple times and kind of hammer on it, we get all of these news articles out of nowhere about people getting saline-only injections. How interesting is that? All over the United States. I did a thread. I think there was like 10 states. Also happened in Canada.
The Matrix giving us what we want.
Is it that we are pushing against the boundaries of the system, of the wireframe? I'm borrowing that phrase. Are we pushing against the wireframe of this matrix? And is it somehow like reflecting back at us or something? Like what I don't know.
Yes. Remember back in January before Trump left office or whatever, I remember people were talking about how Twitter was amending their rules and their guidelines, and that people were talking about, they were worried that they were going to that they were going to be that their accounts were going to be shut down because of their anti-vax
Yeah.
positions,
Yes.
and people were going through and changing their profiles,
Right.
and getting rid of all kind of mention about anything to do with vax or whatever,
Yes.
and talking about going through their posts and purging their posts so they wouldn't get taken down and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I didn't really think anything about it, but I didn't delete anything. You didn't delete anything. Rambo didn't delete anything. We're very open about everything. I don't censor myself at all,
Never.
really, and we never have any trouble. So it begs the question, like we're not being, they're not trying to shut people like us down, saying these kinds of things.
You know, the only time I'd ever been shut down on Twitter, the only time I'd ever been suspended, this is before I had human vibration. This is actually when I thought that all of the deep dark stuff was going on, and I had a really small account, and I would just forward stuff about, you know, the queen being a pedivore, and you know, the normal stuff.
Okay.
the usual, the starter pack. Yeah, the QAnon starter pack. But what I got suspended for was saying that Steven Spielberg was involved in the murder, the rape and murder of the little girl who actually looks a lot like JonBenet Ramsey. What was her name? She was in Poltergeist. Heather O'Rourke. And I think she's actually a template of, I don't think she existed, actually. And I think they struck me because they knew it was, I mean, it is false. It's designed to be false. And so they can strike you down for stuff like that. Because, and it makes you think you're close to the truth. Because you're like, oh, they struck me down for my Steven Spielberg, Heather O'Rourke post. I must be onto something. When in reality, it's just sort of the machine. It's just the machine's way of both reinforcing the narrative and perpetuating all the, you know, and also.
I always remember you breaking down Steven Spielberg's name. Spielberg.
Yeah, it's like a spiel, you know, is to basically like blather on with nonsense. And then Berg, what does Berg mean? It's like a mountain.
Like a mountain.
A mountain.
Shit.
A mountain of shit. Yeah, a mountain of bullshit. Oh, 3 strikes.
Steven
2
is
strikes.
33 in numerology as well, which is a bit of a coincidence.
What'd you say, Rambo? You said 33. What about it?
Steven, the name Steven is 33. Which
of course it is.
It also goes with Steve, the other Steven. What was he called? The space guy. I forgot his second name. What was he called? Stephen Hawking.
Stanley Kubrick? Oh no, what?
Stephen Hawkins.
Oh, Stephen Hawking's. Yes.
Do you think he was real?
No, I don't.
I don't know.
I also don't think Christopher Reeve was real.
No,
the guy,
not at all.
Superman in a wheelchair. I think that was kind of a hoaxy thing.
Yeah, it was showing us like even Superman can become like helpless. You know, I thought that was like the whole thing story behind it. Like we've seen Superman become nothing. You know, like and die. Like
yeah, and like weakness. The really heavy mechanical wheelchair is a big part of the how.
Yeah, and he's like clicking before he talks, like a real. When you watch, there's always like a click before he talks.
Like a whir,
a real. He's like an animatronic.
Yeah,
and I think that's what Stephen Hawkins was as well, really.
Kind of an animatronic. Oh God, y'all, we get welcome to Realize Radio, episode 8. Stephen Hawking, animatronic. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, animatronic with like
jump
a speaker on him or something, and they're just having a laugh with us, really.
I think so too. I mean, Einstein. I can't find one picture of him looking real. You
can always see him doing the old mocking tongue, Einstein.
Right? Yeah, he's sticking his tongue out. Exactly. He's mocking us. They are mocking us. Yeah.
Just letting you know there's the cleverest man in the world or whatever, and sticking the tongue out at you.
You know, all of the pictures I look at him like lecturing. I mean, there's very few group pictures of him, and all of them that I can find of him like with other people, it just looks very, very. He looks inserted. You know, history. All of our idols. If all of the stuff throughout history. I mean, it looks like cartoons. It looks like advanced cartoonery. And I say advanced. Sometimes not even that. I look back at the JFK assassination, and Rambo, I mean, I have to credit you for really hammering this idea home, but you know, we're allowed to see point blank police assassinations of citizens on like live broadcasts, body cam, assassination style murders, or like, people breathing over their last breath, like George Floyd. We're allowed to see that on camera, and we're allowed to see the JFK like assassination, but then they have to like blur.
They have to blur out like the real stuff, like
Yeah.
when it's or they don't allow it. It's not allowed on the internet. It gets removed, and it's all just programming us all the time, isn't it? And like back to like Stephen Hawking, he's been programming us with space. They've used the animatronic dummy to program people about aliens and space and the future and stuff like that. And what a lot of people look to that idea, what he puts out as he was a bit of a psychic, and he was that clever. He knows what's coming,
Yeah. Disney has a huge reliance on animatronics, like the Hall of Presidents, the Disney Hall of Presidents. That's basically all advanced animatronics, and they've had it forever, and they still maintain it. Trump, there's an animatronic Trump. I think that's one of those truth in plain sights where they're telling us, that some of our idols are even.
But I think maybe they use the animatronic to then put the CGI over it to make it look more real.
Yeah. Instead of using, because you're right, like there's not a real base person doing those weird Bill Gates hands or those weird Trump hands. All those gesturing
just
is
all
so
be
unnatural.
like animatronic, and then you're only seeing it through the screen, so they can just add a voice in anyway, and you wouldn't know, sync it up with the lips, and there you go.
The way Trump moves his hands looks like it's being operated by a Jim Henson style puppet.
But where's he gone? Why aren't we seeing anything of like Biden or Trump? It's all gone. Like it's gone. Like where's Biden? Like where is it?
Right.
The only thing I've heard of him is getting involved in the George Floyd. Did he like ring the George Floyd family or something after it?
Did you guys see that Brady Bunch style picture-in-picture summit of all the world leaders, and Putin was in the middle, really big, and then none of the world leaders had masks on, but Joe Biden had a mask on. And I thought it was pretty hilarious because in reality, they all have masks on. They're all wearing masks.
They're all wearing masks. The characters, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I can't look at them any other way now. When I'm watching things, you can just see it, can't you? You can see that they're playing a part. I can't take them seriously. You can see that the kind of people go, like for Boris here, for instance, he his hair's a mess, and he talks funny and he says stupid things, but that's all on purpose. It's all part of the character, builds his character up. Mm-hmm. And the same with everyone, like Putin, like the mysterious, like do anything and someone comes around and poisons you or whatever, They've like got a little image over them all, the Rocket Man and then you've got Trump, the Orange Man, then you've got Biden, the dementia, but he could have a mask on. They've all got their own they're all characters, and they could be one actor there playing a couple of different ones. That's what I think.
I saw a really interesting side by side today of AOC and who was that other girl in her ilk that was like married to her brother?
Ilhan Omar.
Yeah, and it was a side by side, and their physical similarities are striking. Actually, I could see them being the same base actor. Ugh. Yeah, and they kind of came in the same wave. So
AOC and Omar.
Yeah, you don't really think about it, but I'll send you guys the pic. I'll do a templates on it. It made me do a double take, and I was like, you know what? There's really not that much difference other than some facial. They're both very slim boned. I mean, with a little bit of makeup, and especially with the hiding of the hair and the head on Ilhan Omar's part, there's actually they have the same bone structure.
She has very strange mannerisms.
They all do.
And speaking, the way that she speaks, it's the most arrogant. She has the most arrogant tone.
I think she's designed for that. I think she's designed to be a figure of disgust, a figure of fire. Yeah.
But the interesting thing about it is a lot of quote unquote
woke women love it. Yeah.
People love her.
They love that.
She's just a flaming bitch.
It's nails on a chalkboard for me. Not because I think she's a flaming bitch, but because I know that she's designed to be this way. And so it just makes me, I just see it. I'm like, ugh, like this is exactly what she's designed to do.
Did you see that Zac Efron picture going around?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, looks like a completely different person.
Yeah. Yep.
Another masked character.
I wonder how many of these Hollywood teen stars are authentic, and maybe the reason they have these implosions is because they have to drop off the face of the earth, or they have to like they have to exit one actor, graduate one actor, and introduce another one, and so they just really mess up with the mechanics. So we just think, oh, it's plastic surgery, when in
Yeah.
reality, it's kind of disguising that there's a new sheriff of town. There's a new person playing this role, and
Playing a
so
Zac Efron, for
yeah,
instance.
so let's disfigure him so that we don't think it's kind of like a magician, a bit sleight of hand. Look in this hand, but don't see what the others.
Britney Spears. There's another one.
Yeah, I mean, she looks totally different, and it could be easily blamed on her being what seems to be in a psychotic episode. She appears to be going through something quite uh, like a psychosis almost. When you see her dancing away on her Instagram, there's something going on with that girl.
The strangest thing about Spears is the conservatorship issue, right?
Yes.
If you have that much money, right,
Hmm.
but somehow your father gets access over your finances and convinces a court
Hmm.
that you're not mentally stable enough to not have access to your own money. I
Hmm.
mean, and you can't have attorneys yourself to fight that.
It doesn't
The
make
whole thing is
sense.
Do you
so.
think she's real?
Nope.
I, I,
Not the version that exists. Not what we know as Britney Spears, but
I
maybe
think
at some point.
I think that there is an actor there playing a Britney Spears, and
Mhm.
I know that I see a lot about it's a trans and all that, but I feel like she is. Like I've been watching a lot of breakdown videos of Britney
Yeah.
Spears recently, and it's got
Her,
me.
yeah.
I'm like,
All of her
maybe
young
it
stuff
is.
is pretty masculine.
Maybe on this occasion that maybe when they done the Skinner thing, that was the swap.
Mm.
The new one comes in, and it was to I don't know.
Oh no, Rambo, you're on the transpocalypse revolution, bud. We
No,
gotta
no, I've
get you
been on
off
it.
that train. We gotta get you,
No,
save
I've
you,
gone.
save her. No, I'm kidding. I'm
I'm
kidding.
more thinking like bodysuits. So I'm thinking like they're bodysuits, and so when people think,
Ooh.
it's a trans, it's actually just an actor in the full bodysuit.
Well, I do think that they feminize men. They fem up men and they butch up women to make you think that maybe a man's playing it.
Yeah, they want you to. They know that people are out there saying these things as well. I think so. They leave little carrots dangling around.
Like Axl Rose from Axl Rose early album cover. I mean, he looks like a chick, y'all. I mean, the Hanson brothers. I remember my dad used to come up to my room and be like, "What are those girls doing on your wall?" He thought it was so funny. But now looking back, I'm like, "Oh my god, he was so right. They do look like they're out. They have they are probably boys. I don't, or maybe they're girls. I don't know. They're probably boys, but there has been manipulation done to make them appear more feminine. I mean, yes, I had a crush on the Hanson sisters. I absolutely did. But like maybe that's like a way to try to like mess with young girls, like
Yeah,
make them attracted to boys, but they're actually like feminine. I don't know.
there's something there's something to it, but I do now lean towards more that they're just playing the part really, and
Yeah.
that's what it is. They're playing that part, and so maybe sometimes the real gender does show in the actor, and that's what people are picking out on. But like while we're on like celebrity, this like have like a breakdown and come back, and people say it's someone else. There's Eminem. Remember, like in
Mm.
2006, they said like, oh, after his like friend died or something, he like disappeared, and then he come back, and then everyone's like, oh, that's not the real Eminem. And from then on, there's like been the is that
Yeah.
him? Is he a clone? And then there's
Will
that
the real
song, Will a
Slim
real Slim
Shady?
Shady? But now you don't believe the clones. Like now, I believe it is just basically the deep faking the guy on the screen, and it's just a different person behind it, a
I
different
think
body
so.
double.
Yeah, I think it's different actors playing Eminem. That's why he's always slightly changing, and that's why they actually told us the truth. When they had the real Slim Shady, please stand up, and the whole video is
Mm.
like with multiple versions of Eminem imposters, and so that just shows that all they need is kind of a body type, a similar body type, and then all of the really inconsistent, and then you can overlay whether it's with CGI, real time CGI overlays, or with the good old Hollywood magic, good old Hollywood theatrics with Rambo, everything that you look into, the silicone masks, the I mean the wigs, the teeth, the whole thing. It's so intricate.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like they did tell us the truth with that one. I don't. That was one that always. I was into the clone thing for a while with him. Like, oh, maybe he is a clone, but now it's just like, nah, he just never existed. And it's multiple, but different people playing him. Like you said, the real Slim Shady. There's loads of people playing the same guy.
Yeah. There is no real one. That's the irony there. Yeah.
Have you listened to his recent work?
I haven't.
It's awful.
I remember he done like the last time I really heard of him, it became like mainstream that he'd done like a rap against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He'd done like a song against Trump or something, and that's the last I really heard of him. Really, me.
His early stuff was actually, you could say that the guy was somewhat talented, but the recent stuff is.
Did you guys see 8 Mile? That was pretty. I mean, that's pretty good. That one song could stick on my head every once in a while. I'm not going to sing it.
Did you see those things that have you seen that like voice synthesis thing where they can like just have his voice perfect just off a computer, typed into a computer?
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of artists are I think many voices that we think of as authentic human voices are just basically a vocal machine that's singing.
There's a video on YouTube that takes Justin Bieber, good old Justin,
OG Justin, weekend shout out,
and Post Malone, and when you slow down Justin Bieber, it sounds like Post Malone. Yep. When you take Post Malone and you speed it up, it sounds like Bieber. Serious.
I'm gonna look for that.
I'm right there with you. And I think that, I mean, I have a record player over there in the corner, and if I accidentally, put it on the wrong setting on how fast, I want it to spin, the whole experience is transformed, And
like the Beatles have got a song, haven't they, where like if you rewind the song, put the song in reverse, as is it Abbey Road or something, and they say something else about Paul McCartney because people have said about him being a clone, haven't they?
Yeah,
so that's another one.
That's a huge rabbit hole. The Paul is dead. I think the rabbit hole has to end with there was ever no Paul ever. Oh, and I saw this morning this crazy template side by side of what is purported to be President Obama's mother, and then a side by side of her and Paul McCartney, of a young Paul McCartney, and they are templates. It is the same face. It's wild. I'll have to post that too.
But yeah, it is crazy where how they kind of give us all these, like the clone stories. It's like, because they're putting them out there, aren't they? All them that we just mentioned, they put this out there. Then you've got Lady Gaga and Amy Winehouse, or what was she called? The Lady Gaga, the other friend that she supposedly
killed,
took all the stuff and killed her. Yeah.
I remember hearing that. Yeah, crazy.
There's like something behind all of them, like
this
little clone.
Maybe those stories are just as real as the child, the pedophile stories about Michael Jackson. A lot of these weird stories involving stars. Same thing like with Tom Hanks or whatever. That maybe he is real, right? But the stories are just so crazy that we think these stories are so crazy. This person can't be real. I'm just saying that there's some weird stuff where all these stars have these straight, like Spielberg, all these weird stories that the person's not real, either the person's not real or the story's not real, or both of them aren't real, right?
Both of them.
I just think it's Hollywood, and they showing us that they can.
But
they can do it.
It brings up a good point, though. The problem with this, I agree with the theory, right? I think it's true for a lot of people, right? But I don't think it's true as much so in music as other places, because it's harder to replicate. Because if you look at it from a completely logical point of view and take it to its complete extent, is if this was completely true for everybody, there would be no music, and we know that there is music.
But I think history's fake, and so someone was doing those classics. If history's fake, I believe history's fake. So, and I believe the classics from, Beethoven's, Moonlight Sonata,
But
I
what
think that
what
who
do you
made that?
think of what do you think then of like Christmas time songs that are like every
Evil.
year of our lives they're there? Like,
Evil. They're spells.
yeah.
They're meant to put a
So
spell on us.
somebody's either wrote them,
Mhm.
them artists haven't wrote those songs to be repeated on us every single year.
Yeah.
Someone's passed them to those artists to be the face of them songs.
Music is so foundational. I mean, music is one wrong chord, you strike one wrong note in the in a beautiful melody, and you can ruin the entire experience. You can ruin the tenor of the entire you can bring everything down with a strike of one false note. There's something
Somebody had a great
intrinsic. Go ahead, Murph.
somebody had a great quote today about music and architecture, and said that music, it's wrongly attributed to Goethe or Goethe. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it correctly. Yeah, the right way to do it is like the Germanic kind of thing, whatever. But what's it called? The quote was that music is liquid architecture, and architecture is frozen music. And what you said right there is completely true. In music, if you one wrong note can screw up, it's not a correct chord. You know.
Ooh, just like a false brick, a false brick in an architecture. You could have the whole building could collapse or something, or be unset. Yeah. So the
Like
connection.
with that, do you believe that like Mariah Carey can actually sing
I wonder.
or and smash a glass with her voice?
Well, we definitely need the character of Mariah Carey to have that Christmas song. We needed her. Like, that Christmas song is obviously the most important part of her entire journey, because it's like the thing that saturates our consciousness. So obviously that's what is key. Every year, like, we cannot get away from that song.
It's like that. What I see Murph said, Groundhog Day. It's like Groundhog Day, dude.
That Murph. Yeah, Murph, you're right.
Every
Once
day.
I hear that song come on, like when it's like
every
October
year,
and they're already putting that song on, I'm like, no, 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 please God, no, not Mariah, not yet, not yet.
Yeah, it's the same ones all over and over every single year, and there must be something to that. There must be, because no more really get in. No non-stick, do they like them?
Well, I mean, music is so important we have to be reminded for our ritualistic behaviors. Christmas is such an important ritual. So how do we make Christmas seem heightened in its importance? Christmas songs, Christmas music, Christmas cheer, quote unquote, these high energy, methodical, melodical, almost like seances, I feel like, preparing us for this ultimate. I mean, Christmas is, I think, a loosh fest. I think that there's something very looshy, a harvesting. I also think that there's a reason that JonBenet Ramsey was supposedly murdered the night of Christmas on 1996, and her body was supposedly found the next morning. I don't think that's a. I mean, yeah.
I just think it's like a celebration of the Antichrist, the birth of the Antichrist. That's what I think.
There's something evil. There's something backward. I think
Yeah,
there's something backwards and evil about it. Yeah, and I don't know if I believe in Satan or Antichrist, but I definitely believe that the hijacked, the blind belief of that, like people celebrating.
Well, they say, don't they, like Satan, and it's Santa mixed up, and then
Right.
you've got the reindeer horns for the horns,
Dang. And yeah,
it's all there.
It's all there. And he wears a red suit, and he comes down the chimney where there's flames.
Yeah. Who is he?
And he's such a creep. He's like breaking into everybody's house. Get out of here, creep. Eating everybody's food. Get out of here. Yeah.
He's got red shoes too.
Mm-hmm. Oh my. Oh, he's part of the Red Shoe Club from the QAnon days. Oh boy.
Well, that's it. Yeah, did you see the Tiger Woods picture today?
Someone sent it to me. Yes, he was on the golf course with his dog, and he was like on crutches in a purple outfit. It seemed like it was very quick that I looked at it.
His crutches would look fake to me. They look really fake. But I noticed a few comments saying like he's got the one boot on And the dog, it's comms, it's Q comms.
Yeah, the one boot and the dog. That has always been QComs. It's so strange because they all had the
There's no
boot.
way that dog was in his route in the picture with him. There's no way.
It looked very, and because he was on a golf course with green top to bottom, as the background, it just masks green screen. Like, how do you make a green screen look natural? Oh, we'll just
Yeah, and
position him on a
that's
golf course.
where we used to seeing him. Like, we're just used to seeing him
on green
in a
on
golf
green.
course picture. Yeah, so it makes it real, doesn't it? Really.
Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe there's something to a bigger allegory there to golf being.
Q's coming back as I think
full force.
Q's coming back, and it's gonna make everyone who doubted it look stupid. That's what the aim is to do.
I had a really interesting conversation with my Maria today, and this idea that Q is like the Messiah figure. He's the second coming. It's the whole thing is believe in me. I am the way. I am the light. I will come back, and when I come back, everything will be revealed. And it's like, it's very and how the interweaving of so much biblical reference points and kind of like Christian speaking points was interwoven into the Q narrative. It made it really juicy for a major subset of the population because it seemed to reinforce something that they already really believed in. It's like, oh, well, Q's with God too. It's like, oh boy, I don't know.
Imagine Q comes out though and says everything's fake. Everything's fake.
Well, remember when he was posting purple stuff and me and remember we were
yeah. It really was saying show them and highlighted show them in purple.
It did. He said you can't just tell them, you have to show them, and show them was highlighted in purple. It was ridiculous.
Q is everything is fake.
Oh.
We're watching a movie.
We are watching.
They're telling them, and people aren't looking at it in that way though, are they? They're thinking it's just the political side of things. There's something being played out, not the fact that everything's a movie. So they're telling us the truth, but not pointing to the truth that you are just watching a movie.
Something Q also always said was they thought the sheep would follow the stars, blinded by our stars, following our stars. And that's what we're talking about. We're like, don't follow these stars. The stars are fake, false light, back away from the stars. That's interesting. Are we Q? Is this what Q is? Is it foretelling of? No, edit that out. I don't want to cut that out. I don't want the.
Yeah, but it was fun at the time, and I do feel like there was a few truths. But imagine they really did just come out and say it's all fake, everything is fake. That would be a bit of a strange one, really.
That would feel weird. It would feel very validating. I mean, everything that happens is kind of validating. When the New York Post posts a picture of a man with a green face and a purple shirt on who looks like a Hulk,
yeah, and then
that feels very validating.
Out skin, you could see his skin underneath, couldn't you?
Yeah, it was very strange. So that feels validating. I don't think I need Q to say everything is fake to make me feel validated in our efforts, But it would feel very cool if that's what it actually, if the Q revolution, quote unquote, was actually, if it was the awakening and ultimately it was just to get all this attention and then one day go, by the way, y'all, everything's fake.
Yeah, and
how cool would that be? Then what would they do? Then what would all the Q followers do? Yeah, they'd have to, oh my gosh. That's a thinker. That's kind of heavy. That's a thinker though. Well, you guys want to take a quick break, lighten the mood, take a quick break, and come back and talk about something besides QAnon.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Talk soon.
Yeah, I was thinking I might make an Instagram.
You should. You really should. It's fun. It's different than Twitter. It's a different type of community. I've enjoyed it, being on there just for a couple of months. You should. I see your stuff shared. I will see screenshots. People that I follow on Instagram, I will see screenshots of your stuff. And I send that to you guys. I'm like, you guys are already on Instagram. Just get over here.
I think I need to make one.
You should. You and Murph, you guys should both get your Instagrams going. Yeah.
I like Instagram.
Yeah. It's different. I like Twitter. I said that to Eyes. I did his podcast the other day, and I said that to him. I was like, I think Twitter is always going to be my home. I feel like Twitter is my home. I feel like Twitter is where I like park. You know, I don't know.
In Instagram, you can't. I like Twitter because if someone posts a great image, you can always copy it and put it into your like library or collection of images.
Hmm.
And Instagram, you can't do that. It's
Right.
not. It's
And
not.
share easily. You know, you can't really forward. You can't like repost an Instagram thing very easily unless you have a third party app. It gets kind of complicated.
And the whole section where there's like people trying to put verb like words, it's so
Hmm.
awkward.
Yeah.
You can't really
Yeah,
write.
it's different. It's different for sure. You know, but you can write long captions, which is something that I find frustrating about Twitter sometimes. Beautiful and frustrating. I like that there's the 240 characters because I usually try to get it down to 0, like perfect, where I don't have one character left or not one character over. I'm such a weird perfectionist, y'all. I drive myself crazy. But if you were to do like an analysis of all my long tweets, 99.9% of them are exactly 240 characters. It's crazy. Um, but so that allows you, like, you have this tiny space to do a big thought. But then Instagram, you can do whatever you want. You could write a whole novel if you wanted in that space. There is something beautiful about the concise, like, make your point. Twitter says make your point, you know. And then Instagram's like share your image and then say whatever you want. Make it
You
easy.
get like celebrities like blocking people on Instagram and stuff like you do on Twitter.
I think so. There's a lot of Instagram fights that I hear about, right? People like these stars get on Twitter feuds and Instagram feuds, and I feel like maybe it's just a platform for more of this energetic swirling around these celebrities, around these fake characters. If they can be in feuds, if they can be at war with each other, you know, the whole idea of theater of war as being this, you know, energy manipulation over time, and then celebrities dueling. I mean, all the big celebrities had kind of like dueling celebrities, even back in the day.
And I think all them duels are planned
For
to make them
sure.
seem real in our
Designed.
minds. That they're
Yeah.
having feuds with others, so they're obviously real, but it's all part of the scripted life.
They just have to make the lie so intricate. It's the concept of the big lie, which you make a lie so elaborate. You make a lie so elaborate and so intricate that it becomes nearly impossible to question the lie itself. That becomes just kind of like space. You know, space is a big lie. It's hard to question. I mean, dinosaurs are a big lie. I mean, we're
Did you see
questioning
that
them now.
space picture I posted the other day of that astronaut and it had like a mask on with the strap not even around its ear?
Yes, sir.
And I say it
Purple.
because I don't think it was even a real image. I just
Purple
think it was
sort
all
of
fake.
thing. And then you got that. Who all retweeted that? You got some major props
The
on that one.
Buzz Lightyear had the Biz Light purple band in it on the
He did. He did. Buzz Lightyear.
Larry Johnson. It was who tweeted me out. Yeah,
Larry Johnson.
shout out Larry Johnson.
That's amazing. I love to see that. When I saw that, I was like, "Hey, Rambo!" Major shout out. Yeah, and it was so obviously that was the only color in the image. It was black, white, and purple. You know, kind of strange. And like, since when do they wear purple band? Well, I
Yeah,
guess since
since
Buzz
Buzz
Lightyear.
Lightyear is the only other one I've seen with the purple band.
Oh, this foreshadowing, this foretelling. It's like a mirror, you know. It just projects. It's like this funhouse mirror where they show us things, and then it reflects in reality, and then but in reality, it's still through some sort of screen, some sort of mirror contraption device, and
Yeah,
false
they're just
light.
like bringing on-screen reality into our life, and it's like a reflection of the screen.
Mhm.
Everything we do, like even like things, because even if you take yourself away from it, people who you interacting with in life are still getting everything they know from there. So it's still in your life, this fake world that's being put out onto us, from TV.
Mhm. That's such a good point because
With like this,
yeah,
with everything like the vaccine, if enough celebrities get it off enough people will go and get it. Then that's all it takes.
exactly. They use the celebrities strategically, and there's a reason the celebrities always get the thing first. You know, Tom Hanks was kind of the first celebrity to get the COVID, to get, you know, and be in quarantine. That whole thing, that whole dramatic story, and which led to so many rabbit holes. And then you're right, like the vaccine push has been largely facilitated through the celebration of celebrity vaccinations. You know, like it like Mariah Carey hers went viral, and there's a lot of purples in there.
Oh, is it that Trudeau? That's what it's
Oh,
called.
that was today. Trudeau and
and he was in
Sophie
purple.
was wearing purple. His wife Sophie, she was wearing magenta. She was wearing a very interesting shade of purple.
It's so obvious, the purple. Like, it's just so obvious, isn't it? Like, it's everywhere.
So I had some pushback on the purple. I had some unexpected pushback on the purple about not understanding or not believing that purple could be a psyop. And I don't think the color purple is a psyop. Like, when you see purple, you're seeing purple. It's happening. Things can be purple through the mixing of colors. But there is something that happens through light when we take in purple through our screens and through this wrapping of the visible light spectrum and from like 2D to 3D space.
I feel like it's called the color of magic for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't exist unless it's that energetic frequency of the wrapping of the rainbow.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
In an old alchemical book, somebody who I'm in another group, basically where we focus more on energy issues and everything, basically found in an alchemical book, the color for ether is violet.
Well, violet is not purple. I want to make that very important distinction. We think violet is purple because that is somehow programmed into our mind. But we are told from the time we're young that roses are red and violets are blue. Violet is the shade of deep blue. It's the deepest shade of blue. It's bluer than blue. The ocean, the deep blue sea, we call it the deep blue sea, is violet. That's the actual color of the ocean, deepest blue, and violet is deepest blue. We don't get purple until deepest blue goes all the way around at the very opposite end, goes back to red, and deep blue and red mix in this energetic zipper. It's like a zipper zips up the color, the what was a flat rainbow now wheels around and has to connect somewhere, and this energetic property called purple appears. And it's like when you hold two magnets together, and opposing magnets, and think of the color chart, like infrared, Roy G. Biv, red on one end and violet on the other, violet being a shade of deep blue. So polar opposites, deep blue, and even when you see the magnets, it's always represented in red and blue. Anyway, so deep blue is violet. And then,
it's on any video from any. It doesn't even have to be anything to do with media. It just has to be something to do with anything on TV, really. And it's got the purple in it to show it's kind of fake.
I think anytime they're talking
and it shows
about
a message.
Yeah, I think anytime the message is false and purple is accompanying it, I really
I
think
can
that
actually
they
watching
signify,
now. There's something on now, and it's Tupac, the Tupac in pictures. It's called.
Oh, he's all
and
purple.
it's just
Tupac.
all purple everywhere.
Which makes, and Tupac was one of the first celebrity holograms. I think that there's something to that. Maybe that's a revelation that he was always a character. Tupac looks a lot like Kobe Bryant. Like, if you kind of
I think he looks very girly as well.
Kind of looks very femme. He does have a very feminine, and he was always wearing those little bandanas, the wrong, like with them like tied up like a bow. He definitely.
There's a video of him where he's speaking very, 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 very feminine. That I don't know how.
We already talked about how they femme up some of the idols, some of the male idols, and butch up some of the female idols as a way of like cognitive dissonance in a way. I'm not sure, or just to mess with us in some way, or just to make these characters.
Like with him though, they used him for the thug life and kind of made that a cool thing. The thug life, the gangster life, the shooting out the car or whatever. Like,
Crips and Bloods, blue and red.
Yeah, they made him. He was
purple.
Kind of like yeah, the gangster and all that. But then he'd never actually ever been to prison in his life himself, but all he sung about was prison. Like, and it kind of makes people look up to, and the same with like the NWA, they kind of brought all this in, didn't this kind of lifestyle?
They were like F the police, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of all coming through.
Yeah.
Them kind of characters.
It was a very violent era. A lot of murders at the hands of Suge Knight. This character named Suge Knight was like assassinating people right and left, right? You guys, I mean, we talked about this, right?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
He's just as
Suge
much
Knight.
he's just as much of a character as Tupac. The whole Death Row Records is a complete psyop. Death Row
we talked about Death Row being a psyop. Oh my
Records, definitely. Death Row. I mean, if you look at rap, right? Like lately, I know I have a very weird relationship with rap. Because I always used to, like, when rap kind of became popular in the 90s, I was still into rock and roll and grunge primarily. So I kind of looked down on my friends and like thought it was lowbrow when they started getting into rap, because it wasn't like real music per se, whatever. So I never really got into listening to rap much. But lately I've been listening to Nas. And of all these rappers, this guy Nas was amazing, especially compared to like what's his name, Jackass, Jay-Z. The guy's awful. So I think he may be real, and that's what happens to a real artist. They end up like a Nas guy.
I really like Kendrick Lamar. I feel like he's an incredible rapper. With his lyricism is out of control, and actually through like a new lens. I was listening to him recently. He's foretelling of all this fakery. But then I looked back at his album cover of the album that spoke the most to me, and it's all purple. I'm like, no, not you, Kendrick, no.
Purple's not bad.
I know. Maybe it's the revelation of truth too. Like I'm taking back purple too. I don't know. But
Prince wasn't bad. Come on.
it is important to know.
It's not bad, but it's kind of showing you who they are.
Yeah.
It's like a badge.
Energetically, it's something. There's something energetically there. Like I was saying, when you hold together magnets, you feel a force in the middle. These opposite magnets creating a force. Opposite ends of the spectrum trying to wrap around, they create a force. We're drawn to that force. They're
showing
purple.
The team colors, the team shirt, aren't they, with the purple? I see it as, like,
yeah.
That's how I see it. It's like it's showing you it's formed like fakery or. Even,
energetically, it's magic. It's a magic color. It's a magic.
Yeah, it's
magic
on the eye. Yeah, definitely on screen.
And then we have an experience in our brain. We actually have an experience in our brain when we're taking in the color. It's the result of our brain trying to figure it out. Our brain's trying to make sense of this energetic property that lands outside of the color spectrum.
Guy, here's a question.
What?
If purple was a number,
Ooh, okay.
What number would it be? And I think this is the point of maybe the meaning.
9.
Exactly. And what is 9?
Illusion.
Exactly. And you said you take magnets, right? And if you see the diagrams of positive and negative charges, right, they're always red and blue. But the resultant charge from the diametrically opposed charges is purple. So it rules a non-physical world, and I think it's the significance of it isn't that it's deception, that there's something going on here is beyond what you're physically seeing. Like, in other words, there's something deeply spiritual about it that you wouldn't really see from a first glance. For example, Prince's song, right? Prince's song, like, because we're talking about like Prince and like, was Prince a good guy or a bad guy, like whatever. Yeah. Some people actually say some weird stuff like Prince was some bad guy, which is, I don't know how the hell they can even conjure such an image. Whatever.
You love your idols. You've got your strong idols.
Music, I do. I mean, when someone really touches you, you don't want to give that up. You'll fight for them. I'll fight for those guys.
Prince was touching you?
You know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
Check it out. I had an epiphany the other day. I Would Die For You, right? Mm-hmm. How many people listened to that song when they were going through a breakup, when they were in their 20s or whatever, or teenager, and they were like obsessing over somebody, and they thought the song was literally about somebody, like, like a what's it called, unrequited love or something, and they were going to kill themselves,
right, like a suicide anthem or something.
They took it literally, right? And they thought it was about a guy singing about a girl, or girls would listen to it thinking, it was, in other words, it was thought of as a romantic love thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The song is literally like from the point of view of Jesus or God, speaking to the person who's having the questions, the doubter. It's a love song from God to a person. If you look at the lyrics and break down the lyrics, it is not about people.
What?
It's
Wow.
I'm not your lover. I'm not your man. I'm not a woman. I am something that you'd never understand.
Wow. I've never thought of it. I've never seen or thought of it that way. But yeah.
It's a deeply spiritual song, and it's not at all about human love. It's a really deep song. But to think that a guy who's in his young 20s wrote something like that,
Mm,
I mean,
that's
you
incredible.
know, and he had Purple going back to his first albums, like in
Mhm.
1978, 1979, like when he was 19 years old. He
Yeah.
was on this Purple thing already. And also, if you listen to his music from when he was 19 years old, he played just as good when he was 19 as when he does as when he did when he was like in his fifth when he was in his late 40s.
Well, to me, that goes like human. That's not humanly possible. So he must be a character that's played by a vocal machine.
Fight with your
Human
I think
vibration.
it shows that he was kind of put on by whoever's putting these people on.
Well, Merv doesn't like it when we gang up on his musical
you guys
idols.
hand you guys a guitar and you guys could explain to me how the hell that's done.
Just over the AC system, you know? Like
AC
he could just
system.
they could be piping in guitar music.
And a computer bangs out the instrumentation. How's it done? It's not artificial intelligence.
I know someone that scores music for movies, and they play all sorts of instruments and even vocalizations on a keyboard system, just on a keyboard, just by pressing different areas of the keyboard. They can access different strings, at the drop of a hat, go from a violin to a cello. At the drop of a hat, go from a cello to a woman's voice.
Of course, of course, of course. And I can sit there and do sound effects up the wazoo, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I could never write Purple Rain, and you couldn't either. The person with that fancy keyboard stuff couldn't either, because we don't know his name. And if he could write Purple Rain, we'd know about him instead of Prince.
Okay. So when I hear Purple Rain, I don't hear rain as in like raining, like weather pattern. I hear rain as in REIG, whatever, like royal rain. You know, the rain of our purple rain. We're rained by this color purple. You know, if we could just figure it out, and our royals are fake. So
Yeah, I
ah.
don't believe that song was. I thought that was handed to him as well because there's no way it's too much of a coincidence
And he
with
died
the
that very
purples. And,
Lucy death, that very purple Lucy death.
yeah, and then I seen like a video of where they say he collected an award as his sister. Have you
Yeah, I was
seen it
gonna
on?
ask you about that. What did you see that, Merv? Did you see that one? What do you
I
think
think
about
it's true. I think it's true. There was a post, not a post of the day, but something in the on the news feed or whatever that said that there was an article breaking down. It was in Business Insider, not Business Insider, that stupid rag, like whatever,
Seems legit, but it's totally not. Yeah.
digital rag.
Mm-hmm.
It was doing like an expose on on Prince's catalog, his
Mm-hmm.
back catalog, talking about how his unreleased music is still handled. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting because the guy's most likely still alive. And of course, if anything else, if you're an artist and you're in your 40s, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you have all this unreleased music, why would to ensure that you sell it for the next 2 decades, fake your death, stir up interest in your music, and
Mm-hmm.
slowly release your catalog. I mean, it's brilliant, really.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I
But it would work either
mean,
way. It would work if you had a physical or non-physical person. It would work either way.
there's a very strange conundrum about someone being an artist because anybody is like an artist, the whole thing with the old adage or adage or whatever, how do you pronounce that?
Adage,
Is that
adage.
you're only worth anything when you're dead. So
Oh, yeah.
so think about it. Does an artist have a right to fool the public because the public actually the only time the public really appreciates an artist is when they are dead? So in other words, if you went to Michael Jackson and said, "Mike,
Do they just tell us that, Murph? Do they just tell us that so we don't attempt anything good? It's like, well, we'll never achieve anything in this lifetime. Might as well not try, you know?
partly, yeah.
Hmm.
I think so. The story of Tesla is a good one for that.
Yeah, he's
You
like,
know,
he died penniless. That's what I hear. Like, dot, 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 he died penniless. But Tesla did all of these things. He introduced he's like behind every kind of conspiracy minded innovation that you could ever imagine as being like talk about a major savior. Tesla, like his ideas
he's
on
a Christ,
electricity.
a Christ figure.
Yeah, Christ-like figure. And then it always, no matter how robust the biography gets, it always ends with dot dot dot. He died penniless. He died penniless. The end. You know. And I think those are gates. You know, those are gates. Those are mind gates in a way. It's like programming in a way. It's like, don't try that. Don't try to be an artist. Don't try to do anything with your independent thought, or don't try to do anything.
What do you think? Speaking of artists, what do you think about Banksy? Do you know who that is over there?
Yes, Banksy.
Hmm.
I think he's a fictional character, and all of his art is for original is digital, is kind of like digitally done, and not
Yeah,
all that great, not all that great.
yeah, and it's like it because there's one not long ago, and I just think that there's something to it, isn't there? That and he's trying to show that they can fool us and make us believe in this
Because it's all
make
stencil.
believe
It's stencil
character.
based. Yeah, it's his art is stencil based spray paint. So it's a real medium, but like you don't need Banksy there to do it. You know, it's
And he
you
can
just spray
remain
paint it.
anonymous for all this time, and then
And
the
then not really
pictures are
have
like
much.
worth. Who says these pictures are worth like millions? Who
Mhm.
decides that?
And then the one Banksy that was shredded at the Christie's auction, it was shredded in real time, you know, and then it was deemed to have been like ruined because it got shredded as a part of this art experiment by Banksy. It was detonated, you know, and they shredded that. So to have a shredder built in, um, I think that would have been easily found. Like, just when they were hanging it up on the wall, wouldn't they have been like, this piece of art is
Because like
enormously
he
heavy?
draws like random things on, like he drawn like something on a prison wall in Reading
Oh wow.
not too long ago, and I wonder how they do it, like without anyone seeing them. Like it's
They can probably do it in the dark of night, and there's probably like a very quick application that
probably
seems
a
like it was
team.
actually spray painted, but it's just like an applique, and they just put it on and leave. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like a team of people that
Those
are doing it.
in my downtown during the George Floyd riots, a lot of the buildings got boarded up. Pretty much all the buildings got boarded up downtown, and I would notice that there was like a different color boarding insert of the kind of like graffiti of natural murals, like organic murals of George Floyd. I would notice that the ones with his face on it would always be a different color wood, which made me realize it was pre-manufactured and it was like provided, you know? It
With
was like
George
not
Floyd's face already on it.
yeah, because it did why was that one panel a different color wood? Why was the one panel with the spray paint like of a full like, you know, kind of murally looking thing? Why did like the key piece of that, and I noticed it on this on a few, and I actually took a few pictures, and I was like looked at it, and I actually have a video of it. I might have to share that, but I was like too scared to share it back then. Um, but I noticed that the wood panel itself, like the boarding, it was a different type of plywood. It was just different color. It just seemed that it was specifically pre-designed, and then everything else was kind of put around it and kind of painted over. But the face was already, or like the bulk of the story, the narrative, the thing that went up immediately was already kind of pre-done, and then I feel like they had a little bit of organic stuff over
It's
it.
just like a picket board, really. It is them
Hmm.
picket boards they have are
Yeah, it's
all
just
pre-made.
plywood. It's just a really cheap board, and I feel like they just had a bunch of that at the ready, painted his mural on a couple ones, and made it look kind of like undercover organic. I don't know. I'm spiraling, y'all. Save me from this one, but I was really impressed by how quickly it all came. By how quickly all these murals just appeared, all of these murals, and I mean all the murals were purple. You know, purpley pinks, and you know, and
Because there's something coming back from it. There's got to be like, there's got to be. It's not finished. It's it's got to blow up again. And I'm kind of looking forward to it to see where they're taking it. Really, you know, it's because I feel like at the minute people are like, wait, well, he got guilty, it's all done with now and all that. But then why wouldn't they sentence him? It's a bit, I don't know. It all seems a bit
Yeah.
weird.
The sentencing is going to be interesting because this is where they could really start turning the screw. This is where they could really start, turning up the gas fire and getting things to a simmer, to a boiling point. I think they're going to get us to another boiling point.
I think what we said earlier about they're going to try and say, actually, he's not guilty of any of them three.
Some loophole. I think it's designed to be a loophole because we've already seen the evidence, which is all over the place. And one thing we've kind of kicked around is the no legs situation. And a big part of the narrative of the prosecution was how great of a leg strength he had to overtake 3 officers.
And then he had no legs getting in the ambulance.
Where'd his legs go?
So the no legs story, or not the no legs story, but the whole idea of where the no legs came from wasn't just the fact that that in the video there's a little snippet from the gurney where you can clearly see that there are no legs, but remember, within days of what happened, all of those like weird stories were flooded on Facebook and other social media. They had the picture of the guy in Minnesota who sold those the plastic torsos.
Oh, and the
With
factory
no
got
legs.
burnt down or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So
Oh,
everybody.
the factory burned down. That's right. Ugh.
What I think though, before it ever gained traction, where people were saying that this guy had no legs on any social media, the photograph of that guy holding the black torso, people knew that one. So logically, people saw the torso, and then after seeing the torso, it was much easier to see that there were no legs. But if people didn't see that torso photo, I guarantee you, 50% of the people who now see the legs would never have seen it.
Do you think it was maybe brain training? Like benevolent brain training? Like kind of
I think everything is. Everything comes down to it.
That website for me, that thispersondoesnotexist.com, that was a form of brain training for me. I wouldn't have had my JonBenet epiphany had I not been training my brain casually without really realizing it by looking at the faces on thispersondoesnotexist.com. It trained my brain to spot digitally generated faces, computer generated faces. It's in the eyes. It's always in the eyes. I mean, realize, y'all, it's in the eyes. You can see it in these photos. I look at a lot of pictures of George Floyd. There's emptiness. There's his eyes are not windows. They're voids. There's nothing there. There's nothing behind there.
It's dopey as fuck.
Dopey is exactly right. He looks dopey. And
And
then
then
I'm
you
sure
got
some people will attribute that to narcotics because there's that whole fentanyl narrative. But I think that's just meant to cloudy the waters because ultimately I don't think that he's a real character. I don't think he had
And
any
then you got the
in the
tattoo
system.
thing as well. Like one time he had a tattoo, then he didn't. Then he had a hairline, then he didn't. Do you know, like, did you see those ones?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just everything's just to confuse
And he's got that
people.
basketball player that looks exactly like him, Steven Jackson. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, a lot less people think that I think a lot less people think that he's real than we imagine, but are too afraid to verbalize it.
Didn't he and Steven Jackson even know each other somehow and call each
Yeah,
other
he's done
twins?
a speech. Yeah, called him his twin.
That is a Twin Tower thing. That's a Twin Tower thing, y'all. These symbols.
Yeah, I remember the interview, and it was pretty much just the George Floyd guy saying, "Oh, how he misses him and how it's."
Oh my gosh! Did you guys see when I posted about the David Bowie when David Bowie died? The music producer that looked exactly like David Bowie went on to mourn his colleague on some British show.
And it was that was him. I believe that was David Bowie.
Is it? Well, it was whoever plays David Bowie. I don't
know.
You know,
whoever plays him.
The bass actor for both people showed up. You know.
Definitely.
That's so interesting. Templates, twins. I don't know how it's really pulled off. The whole we had there's so many different ways, but I can't say that I know for a fact how it's all done, but we certainly have uncovered
I feel
quite a
like a
few
lot of
ways.
it's done in the studio for the main stars and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like everything's done in the studio. I feel like all the pictures of them with the family and restaurant stuff are all just photoshopped. I just feel like it's all a full scripted lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bust ups, the new relationships. I just thought they're just paired. They're just paired with another power celebrity to be like a double pronged attack on the public's minds.
Yeah.
So they're never really together. They're just all link the names together in the magazines and on the TV. The shown together, but it's all
And then they
everything's
fight, and then they get together, and then they fight, and they
yeah. Then they
divorce,
get with
and they
someone else who's a power. Then they become a
have an
different power
affair.
couple,
Hmm.
and it's
Whenever I
all
go through, if I'm at the grocery store these days and I see those magazines, all I see are fake faces digitally. But they always looked digitally generated. They always looked very digitally manipulated, but you just kind of assumed that that's what they do. Like they look extra fake on the tabloids, and that was just normal. But now I realize that's just a way of kind of conditioning our brains to be desensitized to these hyper computer generated faces.
yeah, and accept them as real
Mm-hmm.
people. That's the main thing. If they're in the stories in the news every week in the magazines and stuff, they become real. No, and that's it. Really, there's no denying them because you've read that much like quote normal stuff that they do that's similar to your life.
Yeah.
Again, they're just showing you how to live your life through all these celebrities and TV shows and movies and
Someone recently called it cinematic programming, cinematic conditioning. I think that's beautiful. The Steak for Breakfast podcast, I was on that, and they used the phrase cinematic conditioning, pre programming, and cinematic conditioning. And I think that's they use the movies to prime our brain for certain things and to condition us in a way that one thing about the Terminator movie, and this is I'm borrowing a lot from. I heard a podcast of John LeBon, and I'm like kind of obsessed with I'm obsessed that he was onto this so early. But he mentioned the Terminator movie and how we all think of it through the lens of Arnold Schwarzenegger. But a big part of the Terminator movie, outside of the technology taking over, was one of the characters had the flashbacks of the atomic bomb, of the atomic attack, taking out. Her biggest fear was atomic attacks taking out the city of Los Angeles, and obliterating her and her child, and that was her biggest fear. And it just kept kind of, it was like an inserted theme into this Terminator movie, which was about all these other scary things that we talk about. We talk about Terminator through that scary AI lens, but we don't talk about it from the nuclear lens, But what it did was insert that whole nuclear proliferation concept, which is an impossibility. Your family is totally safe from nuclear fallout. Simply not going to happen. But yet they kind of inserted it as a little aside in this movie that was about these other blindingly scary things. Also AI taking over, which I'm not worried about that either.
and in the 2015, I've got a video that I would post actually, and it's a 2015 Terminator, and it's this guy the guy who helped make it, and he's like talking about how he digitally made Arnold Schwarzenegger and used the one from Terminator 2 as like a base model, and he couldn't tell the difference. And at the end, he says the whole thing was digital, just as it should be.
Wow.
And I was like, I was going to post it. I might post it later. Yeah, the guy who talked, like the director of the movie, that's what he ended it with. The whole thing's digital, just as it should be. I was like, really?
Imagine that. They always use that language. We talked earlier about the type of language. It becomes so telling. You get to know these language patterns where they're not really saying anything. Actually, I had someone reach out to me recently. They are an athlete that is committed to a college. They've signed to go and play at a school, and their school is, and it's a big school system, and they were announcing that they were thinking about and planning to require vaccines, planning to require. And he was like, what do I do? What do I do about this? My school's, I want to go to the school. I'm going to play sports. What do I do? And I told him, I was like, just read the headlines for what they are. There's nothing happening yet. Don't scare yourself over this. I don't think anything will happen. I don't believe you're going to be required to take the vaccine to go to school. I just don't think that that's going to be. I think they're going to talk about requirements, talk about thinking about enacting requirements, but I don't think ultimately they're going to. I think that it's going to resume as normal, and businesses aren't going to require vaccinations. You're not going to get fired for not being vaccinated. You're not going to not get to go to school for not, but I think that they're just kind of hyping up the rhetoric now. And so I said, just don't worry about it until the headlines say we are requiring vaccinations. Until then, forget about it.
Like with the vaccine, like you've got the masks, really, you don't have to wear them. You've got fines. I don't know anybody who's been fined or heard of anybody being fined for not wearing a mask and stuff. And then with the vaccines, there'll be a way that they're just offering them. You don't have to take them like they have with everything throughout.
Yeah. I went to an event today, and I worked this morning, and it was taking photos and stuff, and it was a maskless, like a neighborhood event, and I thought that was really cool. Like nobody was wearing a mask. It wasn't advertised as maskless, but I showed up and nobody was wearing a mask, and I was like, this is like hundreds of people. This is pretty cool. I haven't seen anything like this. I don't know. Maybe they had a mass neighborhood vaccination. I don't know.
I was in the playground earlier. And beautiful day here in New York, and all of these grown men, are standing around talking to each other, double masked. It was so strange. It was so strange. I just looked up at them, and it was so cringy.
Yeah. I know exactly.
They're like proud of it. They're proud of it.
So
like,
proud.
It's very strange. It's very strange.
I know exactly how they're all standing talking to each other. Those
But
types of.
Do you know what though? Like where I am now, like it's like a cool thing to test positive for COVID. It's like, yeah, I tested positive for COVID this weekend. You know, people would really want to test positive for it.
What is going on?
It's like a badge of honor.
So we've celebritized something that, again, our idols don't exist. Our villains and our idols are all false. Our villains and our heroes are all boogeymen. They're all false. Our celebrities are all false idols. And so are our viruses aren't even. I really don't even believe that we can be taken over by these things that we understand as viruses. They're not even real, but yet they have reached celebrity status. To be involved in this viral play is like getting the vaccine is celebrated, getting sick is celebrated to this weird degree. And because, because it's cool to test positive because everyone knows you're not going to die, like everyone knows it's okay. So you can't imagine being excited to test positive for a deadly virus. It's so twisted. It's so twisted. It's so twisted.
They're doing it.
People, in a way, every once in a while, crazy situations like this are good because at least you find out who's naked and who's not.
The emperor
so many
has
people
no clue.
So many people in my life who I thought were totally like normal, like intelligent people, completely fucking morons. Completely morons.
Just nothing going on up there. Nothing going on up there. Can talk a lot about nonsense, but can't go there at all. Like where we go at all. Can't entertain that. Yeah. I highly educated but completely blind. Yeah. That's celebrated too. That's celebrated too. In this backwards world, filling your mind with this nonsense is celebrated.
If you haven't got a title, then people aren't willing to listen to you, are they? If you haven't got some sort of big title, it's like your title or your money that you earn or whatever. It seems to be where people listen to you and respect. They've made it like that in society, haven't they? Really? Like you don't have to be intelligent to be listened to if you've got a good job or whatever. Do you get that? Do you know what I mean?
And I think this goes back to what we were all kind of talking about just this whole idea of a new wave of media, a new way of sharing truth in news. I mean, you really had to, if you wanted to know what was going on, you used to have to turn on your radio or your TV or look in the newspaper or even look on Wikipedia or, all these little sources, the encyclopedia. But now I feel like there's a growing subset of the population that is moving towards these platforms, looking for, that we're seeing things go on in the world, but then we're looking for the conversation around it. Some conversations that we're developing, that we're sparking.
We're
It's
putting a
coming from the
positive
media.
twist on social media.
Yeah, because it's like
But yeah, but
disarming it.
you,
It's
you know,
disarming the grenade.
I think a large part of it is that faith in these established institutions has been eroded so badly
Yeah.
that, at least for myself, I wouldn't trust a news source unless I could see their fucking fleets.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and like
You know what I'm saying?
fleets
People,
being the little
people,
stories on Twitter that we share as individuals. Yeah, that make us real.
of
Yeah.
course,
Hmm.
an example of not that it's like there's so little trust now in any kind of established source that people want to know, like, what's this person listening to? What kind of music they listen to? They want to know that they're real.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take my information from any of these places. I don't know if they're cyborgs speaking to me.
They probably are. Yeah, as we know.
Reptilians, cyborgs or something. I mean, I'm joking.
Lizard people. Oh, Alex Jones. Shout out. Lizard
You know
people.
what I mean?
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's important. It's
Did you
important.
ever listen to Alex Jones?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I was into Alex Jones for a little bit.
My thing with Alex Jones is I liked his Bohemian Grove exploration. I thought there was something really going on with Bohemian Grove, but now I just see it as like a silly dress up game that people are involved in. But there's nothing sacrificial actually happening at there's never has been and never will be like actual.
And he said about the Sandy Hook being fake, didn't he? And then
Yeah.
they took him on like Joe Rogan, where he like kind of apologized and all that stuff, didn't he? To the because the victims had sued him for
He
so much.
introduced us to the idea that that was an untouchable topic, and if you did touch it, you could be sued for $17 million, whatever it was, an excess of millions and millions and millions of dollars. So you better not talk about it. You better not even look into that. Because if Alex Jones can get sued for saying it's fake and then get sued for that, that is a way of wrapping the public's mind around the idea. Well, if Alex Jones says it's fake and he gets sued and he loses and he has to actually pay the parents, then that means that he was like, it's kind of like a logic twist. And so you think, well, if Alex Jones,
Yeah, because then you doubt that maybe he was wrong, and
because if he was right, how could he be sued? You go on all these like these gymnastics with it. When the premise is okay, so that makes me think that what he was saying was correct, but his details were way off, because it probably, I don't know his total argument, but
that's not his whole purpose of being.
Yeah.
So he can have the gist of the story may be right, but the details get intentionally screwed up.
Yeah,
So people
that's
can
what I feel.
people can the poster boy for the conspiracy minded person. When I first got involved with this world, right, this Twitter, human vibration world or whatever, and when I was speaking to my normal friends,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that came back to me was, oh, you're one of these Alex Jones people. And I never paid attention to Alex Jones. Luckily enough, one of the first rabbit holes I really fell down was yours.
John Bonet.
Yeah, I was not in this world.
God bless that fake little girl.
The David Icke stuff. I never got into any of that stuff.
Yeah, David Icke was always very off-putting to me. I wanted to believe his stuff because I felt like there was some. He's probably, some. We've always talked about how there could be a little bit of truth mixed in a lot of, like a needle in a haystack sort of thing. So I don't want to dismiss anybody because if they're in our faces, then they're meant to distract. But the double-edged sword, the other side of the coin, is they have to have a little bit of truth baked in. They always kind of put it in our faces. So we have to be really discerning about about how we take in our idols and like what are they really there to do? Were they?
I was
What's,
well into David Icke at one point. Thought he was like really on like our side, but then you start to see what he really is, don't you? Do you know?
yeah, I think so.
And do you remember that picture we seen of him where he looked like he was CGI and he was stood
Yeah.
with like the purple
All
flower behind him?
purples, and his skin was basically turning purple, and he
Yeah.
looked like, talk about lizard people. He looked like kind of like a lizard person. Not that I believe in that. I definitely don't, but I think that he was like designed to look very odd, very unnatural. Yeah. And
You
he's
could be,
talked about the colors before, but he never hit on. And Rambo, you kind of brought that up. He never hit on purple, but he talked about turquoise being the color of truth. I think.
Yeah, kind of what we see in the purple as, yeah. Yeah,
I have
that's
to keep
right.
I have to keep my eye out for that. I haven't really I haven't thought about that until just now, but I'm gonna keep my eye out for that. Yeah. What were you saying, Murph?
saying he's almost like he could be anything that people want him to be because he's also a woman according to the tranny people,
Yeah.
right?
Kind of a Bill Gates character too. Like Bill Gates gets him and his wife get transgendered all the time, and they're kind of positioned to have an evil villain foe, hero villain.
You see that about every single celebrity, don't you? Though, really, and it makes them real if you're saying that they're actually trans when really they're not at all anything. They're just actors.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interesting question. Maybe the whole transvestigation psyop originated as a specifically to reinforce the fact that these fake people are real by bringing up these other red herrings,
That's an
right?
excellent point.
Right?
And there, yeah,
So these
excellent point.
accounts, so these accounts on Twitter that
Mm-hmm.
specialize in this tranny stuff, that sick mind, sick way of looking at the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're they're the ones who call people like us shills, saying that we're denying that the way the world really operates and keeping our followers in some kind of unicorn
Mm-hmm.
vibration.
Some sort of vibration woo woo world, yeah.
Yeah, right. Wiggy waggy chat. Right.
You're onto something. I think that there is a lot of manipulation in those images. Like they're just pulling images off the internet, but I think that those images are specifically manipulated to look that way, and so they're thinking they're onto something, but they're just kind of falling down into a type of rabbit hole that was designed for exactly that, designed for us to fall down and kind of lose ourselves down. And I think the transvestigation world, it's kind of we talked about cartooniness, being cartoony, things being cartoony in the conspiracy world, and like the Pizzagate stuff was really cartoony, and then I think the transvestigation stuff, some of it gets kind of cartoony, and I think some of the images are like extra manipulated. It's like I don't know. I mean, okay,
Yeah,
here's
some of the pictures where it looks like, oh, there was breasts here and stuff like that. It just looks fake, you know.
mm-hmm.
I've seen some like that where I'm thinking it doesn't. It's not real. It's being made to look like that.
But it's an interesting whole narrative, not narrative, but way of looking at things because part of me wants to ask the people that espouse it,
Mm-hmm.
what's the purpose? Even if Tom Cruise has a vagina, how does it affect me? Right?
Well, that's
I can
where they're
guarantee you
saying
that
like
phrase has never been uttered before.
the up is down, and that I think that would be the argument. Well, up is down, and it's an inverted world, and it's hell. We're living in hell.
But even if it is, what's the purpose of just finding out everything is crap without it? Because I guess the point I'm trying to say is that it makes that point, but never brings it beyond that. So you're left in this dark hole of just nastiness. There's no
Yeah.
there's no direction out of it. They're not saying, look, these people are sick and they need to be fixed. The situation needs to be fixed. It's just saying this is sickness, this is disease. Everything is twisted. Everything's nasty. It's a very, very nihilistic, depressing angle.
And I think you're right. And to that point, if these characters don't even exist, they keep telling us how bad humans are. They keep telling us how sick and twisted we are, and how evil the whole world is, and how murderous and everybody is, and how sick and twisted all the murderous pedophiles are. And it's just like, oh my gosh. And humanity is just wrecked. They paint this picture. But if all of these people that are being painted in this light are characters and not even really real, and so all the major stories we get of these horrific things are based on characters that don't exist, it's just like the Grimm's fairy tales. We're living in kind of like a modern day Grimm's fairy tale where You know, and it's also like M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, that movie where basically the townspeople are kept from ever going into the forest simply by keeping up stories of evil that exists within the woods. All they have to do, and it doesn't have to actually exist, just these ritualistic behaviors around it, all of these kind of, you know, these sacred, you know, utterances, you know, these he who shall not be named. You know, you create a villain and you create a scary story around it, and people will be imprisoned by their own fear. I think we're kind of experiencing a version of fear-based imprisonment with everything we've been talking about. And I think that that's why they do all this stuff, why they always tell us that humans are we're way past saving, you know, we're all messed up what's up and down, up is down and down is up, and gender doesn't, there are no genders, and it doesn't matter, there is no uniqueness, and it's all to make us not really realize how truly unique and special we are. And I think to a point, gender at a certain point doesn't matter. I think that every single person is just unique.
Do we not think it exists at all? Because there is some I look at and I think maybe like Blue Ivy, the Jay-Z daughter, it's like they're trying to purposely make her look like a boy. I think.
Definitely, I see that. It's basically Jay-Z in a childlike form.
Yeah. I feel like the kind of pushing that it looks like a boy, and it may turn out to be trans or something, Joe, when it's older. You know, I feel like that kind of storyline's coming with it.
But the rap world is, and the hip hop, they're full of that right now. The guys wearing dresses, and the Little Nas X guy, whatever, with his devil shoes.
Oh gosh. Well, you know, this goes back to what we were just talking about earlier, with the influence of the entire country being swayed through the very, very, very strong ship of hip hop in the media. And I think that the same wave that we all rode back in the gangbanger days, when we were like constantly hearing about the murders happening, and the kind of the gang violence, and the cop crime, and I mean, it was all also during like such a civic unrest time with the OJ trial, and even before that with the Rodney King, especially during the Rodney King riots. Oh my gosh! And like, I feel like rap is a delivery system for the public, for how we should be feeling. And right now, they're telling us that like the devil's taking over with Little Nas X and his shoes. Murph, you're exactly right. Like, there's some sort of communication channel through rap that puts us in a space, puts us in a place.
And people look at that, right? And their takeaway, like when I saw that on social media or on Twitter, is you guys don't see the 666. You guys don't see this blatant devil worship that they have going on. Like, in other words, like they're trying to, they look at it as the mocking thing, that, we're not supposed to see that, and I'm seeing something I'm not supposed to see.
Right. And
right?
You're like, they'll put it in your face because it's fake.
Everything about it there is you're supposed to fucking see it. They're just not getting the real point of it. But to bring me down a notch, I don't know the real point of it either. I mean, other than it's like a riddle in a way that like kind of separate people. Like all these puzzles are put there, and they're kind of delineating who can figure out the puzzle and who can't. That's the best thing I've come up with it right at this point. I mean, I don't think it's deception. I don't think it's deception meant to hurt people. I think it's deception meant to figure out who the hell. I don't want to say it.
Say it.
I think really it's very easy to think that there's lands beyond the ice wall, right? That we don't know about, and there's like humanity kind of lives in a kind of better state than it is now, and all this information is here, and we're all sitting there on social media, on Twitter, like talking about how awful the world is, and they're all over there saying, okay, good, all those morons, let's keep them over there, and every once in a while a few people can escape.
That's interesting. I don't believe in an ice wall, because that's like flat earth model, and I'm kind of in a weird, like, it doesn't really matter, the shape is, I don't know if there is a shape.
I think metaphorically speaking,
yeah, some sort of barrier, the edge of the video game system. Yeah, our whatever they tell us our barrier is, whatever that is, we never go there. Yeah, that's a really interesting concept. And that's like, but that's how this whole thing is designed. I think you just brought up a really awesome thing. Is like this whole place is designed so we don't test our boundaries. Yeah, it's designed to.
Like part of me thinks like all the famous people who know the, like the one-eyed symbolism, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like part of getting into the game is like finding out like this weird stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you just can't talk about it. I guess because what else could this stuff be? What else could it be? I mean,
I do think it's a game to see who can figure it out, who can figure out the game. That's where my mind's at the moment. It's some sort of labyrinth. Our consciousness is kind of a shared experience, but we're. I don't know if there's that many of us. I don't think that there's that many of us who are meant to be on this very specific labyrinth journey. And I kind of wonder, it kind of goes to the NPC conversation, how many people really are out there? Are a lot of the people we encounter, you talked about the highly educated dum-dums, the people and the guys in the park wearing two masks, this is so unnecessary. It's as I'm encountering people just living their life and hundreds of people outside were not wearing a mask in a state that does not require masking. You're in a state that's highly locked down. People are still highly, highly masked, double masked, highly intelligent individuals. Are these people incapable of being reached? And if so, are they designed as such?
the fact of the matter is this: is what this is showing is number one. Even if in New York, even if they came out tomorrow and said that masks aren't required, these people would still be wearing double masks.
Yes, they
Okay,
would. Mm-hmm.
because it's almost like who can be stupider, who can be more ignorant. They're in a battle.
But then, if you can't wake up now to any sort of thing, you're never going to wake up, are you? You've got no inkling of what's going on, and then you're not ever going to wake up, I don't think, now.
2020 was the year of extraordinary clarity, of clear vision, of perfect vision, as they say. Clear visions 2020. That was foretold. That was always foretold. That was part of the narrative, I think.
It's funny because people who I started friendships with
Mm-hmm.
merely based upon in the early days after
Mm-hmm.
I first found you guys,
Mm-hmm.
and I was keyed on to, and I was basically running around, basically copying and pasting Rambo's island video.
That's a fun game, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And part of me was like hesitant to do it at first because
Mm-hmm.
I would just get gang stalked by everybody being like, oh, the children, we got to save the children. What are you talking about? This is
Mm-hmm.
crazy. What do you know? People don't exist. What do you get out of here with that? And I would go to like all these Q accounts that would talk about this stuff and just be like, guess what, guys? Epstein never existed. And then attach Rambo's material. and tag Rambo, so he'd be forced to respond if anybody.
Oh, Rambo, and you were so good at that too. Oh, can you imagine the time suck? But that's good. Imagine how many people you brought out of the depths. Potentially.
But the funny thing is that some of the people were the people who I had arguments about because I would post that and they would come to me and argue about it in my DMs.
Oh yeah.
Now some of those people are my closest, closest friends. Yeah, whatever, digital
That's
friends
my
or whatever.
favorite. That's
And
my
just the
favorite.
other day, they sent me a message and asked me what I thought about the vax stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was like, you haven't seen, like, everybody knows, like, whatever. I said, well, what do you think? And the guy came back to me, he's like, I think it's all fucking fake, man. The guy in the beginning who had such a big problem with me, thinking that I was this everything is fake person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wrote back to him like, you see how the tables have turned,
That's beautiful. I love it when the student becomes a teacher. It always happens, and it's always the ones that get you at the beginning. They just don't want to. They push, and then there's always like a turning of the tide. And I think there's I've noticed that there's always a respectful discourse, which is beautiful, and that's why I'm so glad we answer our stuff. We answer questions through the comments, through the DMs. Like, we are very involved in the education and we run all of our accounts independently. That, like, a lot of work goes into each of our accounts, but I see you guys, like, it is work. It's like we're hard at work at this truth telling enterprise, and I'm so proud. I'm really proud. If you were to like add up all of the text, every character, like add up every single keystroke of every single thing, that every answer we've ever done. I mean, talk about volumes, talk about a library, talk about like new media. It's a lot of energy. That's a lot of words. even plus all the podcasts that between the three of us, you know, it's pretty cool. And not just this one, but you know, the whole community. Oof, it's neat.
Yeah, there's a lot gone into it, hasn't there, really, when you look at it like that?
It's just cool because all of a sudden, we have all this cool stuff. And you know, like, you don't really think about it, you know, and you don't really think about it when you're tweeting all day, but then you're like, oh man, I've written a lot today. I could publish a whole book with just what I've written today if I add, you know, if I put all these things on an individual page. Feels like that sometimes.
Well, yeah, but it's cool because if you sat someone down and said, "Okay, write a book," they could never do it.
No.
But if you basically give them a situation where they can organically speak to people and speak about their own ideas and everything, and not be and have like synergy with people, you could actually go back and have outlines of a book with different subjects and posts and everything like that. And
you
have
can
the
take the
material.
transcript, that conversational style, yeah.
You basically have the material to have it. But it's like anything else. If you're not thinking about it consciously, it's very simple because you're having fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because when you're doing the best things in life are free. It is true. The best things in life are free. You know, the dialogue that you are able to share, once you are able to share it, this dialogue's really special. You know, I never was able to have these types of conversations, y'all. Like the fact that the three of us get to do this together, like just chat and then call it a show, you know. I don't want to take this for granted, you know. I don't want to take this for granted because I mean, I like to, maybe I manifested this for myself in a way. Maybe we all manifested this because I feel I didn't have anybody to talk to. I know that you guys probably didn't have people to talk to about this, you know, specifically this type of this.
No,
yeah.
no, Twitter's become like the place for it, really.
And now we just spread the word, like yeah. And now all we do is talk about it. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it. They enjoy it.
There's so many psyops to go around. Yeah, keeps us on that loop.
Yeah, and we'll see what comes up in the coming weeks or whatever. You know, sure there'll be loads. I'm sure we'll have to call an emergency podcast.
Yes, exactly. We're gonna take a little bit of a break. We're going to regroup. If anything major comes up, we will definitely be sharing our thoughts on it. But we signed up. Realize Radio now has a YouTube channel. We have a dedicated YouTube page. We're going to start adding some stuff to that. Rambo is going to make some explainer videos about all the CGI stuff. I want to do some presentations too. I love making presentations, so I want to record that. I think that'd be fun. Some visual stuff, maybe on the purples or John Bonet or space or all the things that I have already created. Put that up there, and then potentially these chats, you know, continue talking about stuff, but not in this long podcast format on Patreon channel.
We could watch like documentaries, anything, movies, anything on, and talk it down, point out symbolism, kind of stuff like that, and just trash the news. Yeah, we trash the media.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Constantly continue to trash that media. Old guard. But I think, you know, I think a rising tide lifts all boats, and I think that the old will be replaced by the new if we just shine our light bright enough. The old guard, you know. Anyway, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure spending this time with you guys, and I can't wait to record with you again.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, can't wait to do it again soon.
All right. Well, this was episode 8 of Realize Radio, our last of this season, but we'll be back. Yeah. All right.
Take care, everybody.
Everybody have a great night.
Good night.
Take care.
Night.